Karel Zeman was a Czech film director, artist, production designer and animator, best known for directing fantasy films combining live-action footage with animation. Because of his creative use of special effects and animation in his films, he has often been called the Czech Mark copyright Lies. Life. Zeman was born on November 3, 1910, in Ostroma Angstrom, unregistered trademark in what was then Austria-Hungary. At his parents' insistence, he studied business at high school in Cologne. In the 1920s, he studied at a French advertising school, and worked at an advertising studio in Marseille until 1936. It was in France that he first worked with animation, filming an ad for soap. He then returned to his home country, after visiting Egypt, Yugoslavia, and Greece. Back in Czechoslovakia, Zeman advertised for Czech firms like Bourget and Tatra. In 1939 he attempted to make an extended stay in Casablanca, but was barred by the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia established by Nazi Germany. Unable to get the necessary papers in time, Zeman was required to remain in his home country during the German occupation of Czechoslovakia. At Bourget's window dressing school, where he was teaching, Zeman met the animator Elmer Close and showed him a sample of his work. Close offered Zeman a job at Zlen's animation studio. After some consideration, Zeman accepted the job in 1943. At the studio, Zeman worked as an assistant to the pioneering animator Herman Artar 1/2 RLOVA, and in 1945 he became the director of the stop-motion animation production group. The same year, in collaboration with his brother Bo and unregistered trademark Ivar Zeman, he made his first short film, Varno Narsen. The short, which combined animated puppets with live-action footage, marked the beginning of Zeman's experiments with new techniques and genres. Zeman then went on to solo work, including a series of satirical cartoon shorts starring a puppet called Mr. Prekork. The series was a wide success and the character became a Czech favorite. A bet Zeman accepted, challenging him to discover a method of working with glass in animation, led to the unusual short Inspiras, which tells a wordless, poetic love story using animated glass figurines. Zeman then went on to the half-hour film Krael Lover, based on the satirical poem by Karel Havler Ekbarovska 1/2. The film won a national award. In 1952, Zeman completed his first feature film, Poklad Ptaho Ostrova. It was based on a Persian fairy tale and took its visual inspiration from Persian paintings, combining multiple animation techniques into a three-dimensional space. It was in 1955, however, that Zeman began the work for which he is most well known, 6 feature films designed artistically to combine live action and animation techniques. These were, Cesta du Praveku, inspired by Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth and the paintings of Zdeněk Berian, Vina les Zkazy, based on Verne's Facing the Flag, and filmed to emulate the original illustrations for Verne's novels, Baron Prasoil, celebrating the legendary Baron Munchausen, and the engravings of Gustav Dora copyright, Bla Znova Chronica, a satire of the 30 Years' War, suggested by the drawings of Mach the Currency Usnrian, Ukradina Vzdacholoa, inspired by the Verne novels 2 Years' Vacation and The Mysterious Island, the Art Nouveau style, and the 1891 Prague Centennial Exhibition, Narkomata, an anti-war fantasy based on Verne's Hector Servadak. He was a member of the jury at the 2nd Moscow International Film Festival in 1961 and at the 7th Moscow International Film Festival in 1971. The Czechoslovakian government awarded him the title of National Artist in 1970. After his live-action films, Zeman experimented with more classical forms of animation, beginning with 7 shorts about Sinbad the Sailor, which were then expanded into the feature film Pohádky Seojedna copyright Nokai. His final films were Aradea VYA, from the novel The Satanic Mill by Utfrid Priuila, and Pohádky on Zakovium or unregistered trademark Inc. On November 3, 1980, in celebration of Zeman's 70th birthday, President Gustav E. Husák awarded him the Order of the Republic. Zeman died in Gottwaldov on April 5, 1989, a few months before the Velvet Revolution. Legacy. Zeman's works were influential to the Czech animator Jan Angstrom Vankmoja, as well as to the American filmmaker Terry Gilliam, who said of Zeman, "He did what I'm still trying to do, which is to try and combine live action with animation." His Dora copyright-esque backgrounds were wonderful. The American filmmaker Tim Burton described Zeman's creative process as extremely inspirational to his own work, and identified Zeman and the American animator Ray Harryhausen as his influences in terms of doing stop-motion and a more handmade quality. Karel Zeman did that amazingly. Harryhausen himself also spoke in interviews of his admiration for Zeman, and the films of the American director Wes Anderson have included homages to Zeman's works. The film historian Georges Sadoul identified Zeman as having widened the horizons of the eighth art, animation, adding, "He is justly considered copyright Lies's successor. He undoubtedly brings the old master to mind, not only because he is an artisan impassioned by art, creating his innocent inventions with infinite patience rather than with large budgets, but also because of his ingenuous and always ingenious fantasies. Less intellectual than Tinker, but nonetheless his equal, he has great zest and a marvelous sense of baroque oddities and poetic gags." On the occasion of an animation exhibition in 2010, curators at the Barbican Center said of Zeman, "Although his influence outweighs his global fame, he is unarguably one of the greatest animators of all time." In 2012, a museum dedicated to Zeman and his work, the Museum Karla Zemana, opened near the Charles Bridge in Prague. Filmography, feature films, short films, references. External links: Karel Zeman at the Internet Movie Database, Karel Zeman Filmography, Karel Zeman, Genius of Animated Film at SMESK, Gallery of Czech Stop-Action Animation including clips from the fabulous world of Karel Zeman. A Strange Introduction to Karel Zeman, the Czech Visionary.